lot of viewers felt you made the wrong choice putting up Shayna and siding with Todrick and Miesha after Todrick wildly exaggerated how much Shayna was working with them.
Right.
Have you been filled in on what really went down now and seeing how they both voted you out and were thrilled Todd put you up for elimination in the first place? How do you feel about the whole situation now?
You're in such a bubble in there, and your field of vision is so narrow, that you don't know what's going on for real, and you have to trust people, and we trusted the absolute wrong people.
Yeah.
After a very solid performance that they gave. And looking back, it doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, seeing what they were doing, it's infuriating and disappointing, because I had known Todrick outside of this show for a long time, working on other shows. And I just felt like he wouldn't have tried to dupe us that hard. But he did, and we listened, and Shayna paid the price, and that was my fault. And we were so stupid. And I feel awful for Shayna, and I, would apologize to her 1 million times. And that's the one thing I regret about the show. And that, I have run over in my head a million times. Like, I wish I just hadn't taken the bait and the momentum from the house and had done what I'd done, because I probably wouldn't be sitting here, and Shayna wouldn't be sitting where she is.
Was there any time you considered that them throwing Shayna under the bus was just gameplay? It seemed Shayna couldn't do anything to convince you that was happening. Is that the only move you would change about your game?
Well, as far as gameplay, I mean, I think when they had mentioned the Colonel that she was trying to be in a Final Four with them, with Chris Kirkpatrick, it all kind of made sense. And we were just like, yes, that must be it. And oh my gosh, we were sleeping with the enemy, literally in the same room. And we should, it's safer to go with the devil that we know than somebody we thought has been, two-timing us. But that was all made up. And we should have listened to Shayna. Absolutely.
I know that you mentioned that you would apologize to Shayna. Have you talked? I know it hasn't even been 24 hours yet, but have you talked to her?
No, I have not yet talked to her.
What would you want to say to her at this time?
I mean, I would say, I made the worst decision ever. I listened to the wrong people who were obviously trying to mislead both Cynthia and me, to get the whole house behind evicting her. And I would take responsibility for that. And I would say it was the worst decision ever. And I would offer her a million apologies. And that's really all I can do. And I wouldn't expect that she would forgive, but I would obviously want to offer the apology, because it did not work out like it should have for her.
Yeah. You mentioned that you had known Todrick before for the show, but how much do you think knowing a number of the cast before going into the house had an effect on your game, for better or worse? And do you think it made you trust some people you maybe shouldn't have, and vice versa?
Yeah, I just, I've done a lot of celebrity competition shows, and I did not know that much about Big Brother. So shame on me for not preparing. But I just assumed that there would be a certain level of sportsmanlike behavior, because it's a celebrity edition. It's not supposed to be so cutthroat. We all work in the same industry. We all have brands. We all want to continue working. There should be a little bit of grace in this version of the game. And I was naive to think that, because that wasn't the case. And although Cynthia and I came in saying, and I think also Teddy said this, we don't want to win this game at any or all costs. We want to play a fair game, an honest game, and may the best person win. But that's not how anybody else was playing it, unfortunately.
Once you had a sense that you were going home, did you and Cynthia come up with a plan for how she can move forward, or do you think she's pretty much doomed at this point?
There was one really telling moment, and I don't know if it appeared in the show, but I'm sure it's on the live feeds, where after we had broached a possible Final Four, including Miesha, Todrick, Cynthia, and myself, saying that, again, why not play with people who have integrity, people that you know what you're getting instead of wild cards. They said they were going to think about it, but Todrick came back actually quite quickly and said, oh, Cynthia, if Carson leaves, you're going to need somebody. I would love to work with you. And maybe, we can bring you along to the final 3. And I was just like, wait a minute, I'm still here. Hello. You haven't said what you're doing yet. You could still honor your earlier, agreement to kind of look out for each other. So I thought that was very telling. And then after he left, I just said to Cynthia, like, these are people that have been trying to get rid of both of us over and over. And now he's trying to make a deal with you and I'm still here. That doesn't bode well. I think that's some tricky water to navigate. So I think when I left, she had decided firmly that she was going to work with Todd and Lamar. And I think that's a safer bet. And I would love to see Cynthia in the final 2. And a win for her is a win for me. And it would be just wonderful.
I was going to ask you that. Who do you think will win? And how do you think the remaining house guests are doing when it comes to jury management?
Jury management is going to be a disaster for Todrick because I haven't seen it, but it sounds like he said disparaging things about everybody. And just played in a very aggressive way. And I think that if he and Miesha are at the final 2, I think people are going to, even if they don't like Miesha, they're probably still going to vote for her over Todrick at this point.
But you would of course, like to see Cynthia possibly.
Oh, I would love to see Cynthia. I would love to see Cynthia up there with Lamar. I'd love to see her up there with Todd. Yes, that would be fantastic.
You never know.
You never know. Expect the unexpected. Crazier things have happened, but it's not looking good, kids.
Yeah. Did anyone's gameplay surprise you or change how you feel about them outside of the game?
Yeah. I will say I was very disappointed with Todrick because, like I said, I just thought there'd be a little bit of, I know it's a game. I know you're supposed to, do anything, but he was a little more cutthroat than I think he needed to be. Someone else who surprised me is actually Todd Bridges. He was very under the radar from the beginning, but apparently had a deal with Miesha from the beginning. And I haven't seen all of these details, but he kind of had an awakening middle of the show, won an HOH, hung up on that wall with me for a long time, almost won a veto competition in finding the veto guy who was jumping around in the different limos and yachts. So he has really come alive and is like a phoenix rising. And I think that may have been game strategy all along, to pretend like you're not even really that into it and then come out swinging later in the game, which will now get him in trouble with Miesha.
Yeah. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
You said you'd be willing to come back. Did you mean it? And now that you understand the game better, having lived through it, anything you would do differently if you did get to go back?
Yeah, if I did go back, it would be a totally different game. I learned so much. And like I said, I was not prepared. And I would just keep things much closer to the vest. And I think that's how you have to play it. But, I was in there saying, I know this person and that person, and we're great friends and blah, blah, blah. Turns out some of the people I thought were great friends were the least great friends. And the ones I should have trusted that I didn't know as well were the better friends. It was like the friends in the real world weren't friends in the fake world, but the friends in the fake world were the real friends, if that makes sense.